1 second.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for, at this time, for coming for this press conference that we've called. My name is Sim Gill. I'm the Salt Lake County District Attorney, and I have with me Chief Mike Brown from Salt Lake City Police Department, as well as Mayor Jackie Biskupski from Salt Lake City. I've asked them both to join me at this press conference, one, because the issues here impact not only the Salt Lake City Police Department, but also because the mayor and I share a common bond in when it comes to the issue of addressing issues of transparency and public accountability, as I do with the chief as well. And so let me begin by just making a couple of preliminary remarks that prior to this meeting here at the press conference, I also had an opportunity to speak with Rocky Anderson and share with him what I'm going to share with you today as legal counsel for the Barker family. Let me just make a couple of preliminary comments. The Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office is not my office, as I've said before. It belongs to the citizens of Salt Lake County. And in that sense, we all encourage, I am the mayor, the chief, we all encourage and support our citizens asking questions, getting involved, demanding answers from their public officials and public institutions. In that sense, we're doing what we're doing today is just responding to what we encourage all people to do. I am personally, and the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office is collectively is committed to an open and transparent process consistent with our obligations as public service institutions and tasked with the exercise of incredible authority. And this is something we take very seriously today, and we did almost a year ago. Almost a year ago, there was a tragic event that happened in our community in the avenues. Whenever you have a loss of life, it shakes the fabric of our community, and this was one such event. As most of you know, that incident was investigated by the Salt Lake City Police Department, as well as some of our investigators from the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office. And at that time, our office analyzed the findings from the investigation and reached a conclusion that the use of force was justified. Late last Friday, a video was released to the media pertaining to the above referenced matter. At the same time, I, myself, and some members of my office were invited to a local law firm to view this video. While William W. Lawrence told me that he had obtained a video recording from a person who filmed part of the above referenced event from a year earlier, Mr. Lawrence also shared with all of us his interpretation of the video and some possible conclusions one could reach. Mr. Lawrence expressed his concern that the video may depict police officer Taylor. Mr. Lawrence released this video to the media and shared his impressions and possible interpretations with the public. As you know, personnel from our staff and the Intermountain West Regional Computer Forensic Lab worked through this weekend along with Salt Lake City Police Department as we started to gather our materials from our previous investigation. And we spent the weekend analyzing, as well as at this point presenting to you our conclusions. And we will discuss more thoroughly with you as we go forward. It is the conclusion of the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office that in light of this new video, there is no substantive change to our conclusion that we reached at that previous a year ago. The use of force was justified at that time based on the eyewitness testimony that we had from multiple eyewitnesses, as well as the materials that we gathered forensically, and what we will explain to you more fully in detail. Let me sort of set the stage for what we're going to do here. As many of you know, there was a video that was handed out to all of you, which was shown by local media, and in fact, all over the world. We took that video, and as I indicated last weekend, my goal was to take that new evidence, contextualize it, put it in the context of our pre-existing investigation, and to see if it actually elaborated, clarified, or changed our conclusions. And let me demonstrate to you what's going to happen. We're going to show to you two videos today. There was, at that time of the investigation, another video that we had with us, which we did not reveal to the public, And the reason we did not, because that video starts at the conclusion of the event. And after the shooting had happened, our focus was on the original video of Officer Taylor and what transpired and the issue of use of legal force. What we did is, over the weekend, we took the new video that was presented, we synced it up with the video that we have, and we will show it to you, and what you will see are two images. On the left-hand side, you'll see an image, which is the video that's in our possession, and as that video continues to play, which is a longer term than the video that was given to us, you will see on the right-hand side an image appear that is in real-time sync with our video, so it is simultaneously capturing both images. And what I want you to pay attention to, what we have concluded, that what was suggested last week was that Officer Taylor took Mr. Barker to the ground, and while he was handcuffed, he was shot 3 times. That was what was put out there. And what this video will clearly demonstrate to you, that did not happen, that Officer Taylor's gun remained in his holster, and that when we look at from this angle, that what is being suggested never transpired, and we can rely on the totality of our witnesses that we have. So at this time, I'm going to draw your attention to the screens, if you will. This is the video that has been in our possession. And if you stop there, you will notice that shiny object right there is Officer Taylor's gun on his hip, and it remains there. This is after the shooting has happened. Mr. Barker is on the ground, he's face down, and you will see the officer go through a motion of handcuffing, and he's going to put 2 handcuffs rather than 1 handcuff. And his handcuffs are right behind his service revolver behind it. So when you see him reach, he actually will go over the service revolver, and he will be reaching for his handcuffs. Please go ahead and play that video. And that is him pulling the handcuffs. This is a witness who had a clean line of sight, and now this is synced with the video that was given to us simultaneously. And it's been suggested that the officer was trying to tell people not to cooperate. What he's trying to do is secure his scene, as he's been trained to do so. He will go there, and looks like at that point he picks something up, which is his taser, and he secures that.
Shots fired, shots fired. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cops everywhere. Somebody just tried to knock on the door like 5 minutes ago, and I didn't open up the door. I don't know what the hell is going on, but shots fired, shots fired.
This is the video. This is the commentary from the person who took the video, the second one. And it's actually from the second house to the right of that scene right there.
Got back up here right now. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? They're blocking off the road. This is crazy. Damn. I think that officer got shot in the arm.
And that video ends, and you'll notice that our video continues to go. The witnesses are being gathered. They're being brought over here to a safer area while securing the crime scene over here. And then these witnesses become our principal witnesses that we relied upon in our investigation and the conclusions that we reached. And this video ends at this stage right here. But I may have just the lights turned on, please. So the most important thing to note from here is that we accepted the hypothesis that was given to us, which is that the Officer Taylor handcuffed and ostensibly shot Mr. Barker. We can refute that clearly with the evidence that we just had, but more importantly, understand that the physical location of the body and his standing over it. In order for this to happen, there were 3 gunshot wounds that were taken by Mr. Barker's body. There was one wound that was underneath the chin. There was one wound that was in the left sort of chest upper area, and the other one was to the left side. If the body is laying prone and Officer Taylor is on top of it, is arguably you can take the gun, possibly fire the gun underneath while he's on top of him. But in order for the second and the third gunshot wound to occur, he would have had to either lift the body while standing on top, by kneeling on it, and put the gun underneath it, or transfer the gun to the left hand while pulling the body up and fire into that. And the video clearly shows that from an ME's report that those wounds are not consistent with what we found on the scene. And subsequently, the witness statements that we took also corroborated. We met again with followed up with another one of the witnesses again over the weekend, yesterday. And again, it is uncontroverted that the witnesses say that in different stages that a contact occurred on the porch. There was an assault that was occurring, and different witnesses saw from different perspectives a fight that was going on. And through that, no witnesses said that anybody, that any time that Officer Taylor shoot Mr. Barker while he was handcuffed and on the ground. So based on the totality of the information, it is our conclusion that the previous ruling stands. But I want to again emphasize, I appreciate the desire to look into these issues. All of our citizens should make such demands of all our public institutions. We are public servants. We are accountable to you whenever you have such questions. And whenever such evidence is brought forward, we have an ethical and a legal and moral obligation to do our due diligence and leave no stone unturned. Because loss of any life in our community is a tragedy. And we are going to be held responsible to a higher standard of that kind of accountability. So in that sense, I welcome that. But at the same time, I want to caution that as we make such inquiries, let us be careful about the allegations that we do make, because this officer deserved better. And he has been exonerated in the use of that force. It does not answer the broader questions and issues that we may have in our community, but under the law, that officer did what he was trained to do. With this, I will turn over the time to Chief Brown.
Thank you, Sim. As Sim Gill just pointed out, anytime there's a loss of life in our community, it's a tragic situation. Everybody is somebody's father, mother, son, daughter, brother, or sister. Mr. James Barker was loved by many, and he will be greatly missed by them. The Salt Lake City Police Department, from the minute an officer is hired, walks into our academy and is taught 4 core values. They are integrity, reverence for the law, service to the community, and respect for individuals. They are expected to patrol and conduct their business as Salt Lake City police officers as they police our city with those core values guiding them. And when they do that, it instills trust in our community. And this trust is key to the stability of our communities, the integrity of our criminal justice system, and the safe and effective delivery of policing services. Now, I wish I could say that last Friday was the first time that our department had seen that video. It wasn't. On January 8th of 2015, while our officers were setting up a crime scene, we were approached by this individual who had that tape. And we viewed it. And subsequently, a detective was called over and reviewed that tape also. A judgment was made at that time that we did not need to collect that tape because it showed a situation, the shooting had been passed. That it was just information that subsequently followed up on what had happened there. Hindsight is 20/20. We We now know, and we've rectified that situation. And as we conduct investigations into the future, every bit of information, everything is important, and we will collect it. And with that, we encourage the citizens of Salt Lake that if they see something, if they hear something, if they have anything that they feel is important, maybe if they don't even feel it's important, please let us know. Because that information, you never know how important that information can be to helping solve a crime. I also want to touch on the point that Salt Lake City Police Department is very proactive in seeking out de-escalation training. This last year, we have conducted 2 blocks of de-escalating training within our police department. These are best practices that we have looked and sought out from around the country, and we have brought that back to our police department. And subsequently, that makes us a better police department as we put these things into our daily patrol routine activities. Officer Taylor continues to be an asset to the Salt Lake City Police Department. We stand behind the DA's ruling in this matter, and we stand behind Officer Taylor. He continues to heal physically and mentally. Last Friday night, when I called Matt on the phone to tell him we were putting him back on admin leave, it was a very difficult situation for him and his family. And sometimes we tend to forget there are other victims, almost a silent victim, or victims in these type of situations, and that is the officer and their family. Because Officer Taylor continues today to heal both mentally and physically from the injuries he sustained that night. Now, 1 year has transpired, and I want to tell the community and the citizens of Salt Lake City, we stand behind our District Attorney's Office, Sim Gill, for the very comprehensive and detailed investigation that they did in this matter. And I want to tell the citizens that they can stand behind their PD, the Salt Lake City Police Department. The men and women serve with great honor and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. Today, my heart goes out to James Barker's family and his friends who clearly loved him so much. And my heart goes out to Officer Taylor and his family, who have also had their lives upended by this tragedy. There is no question what happened last year was a tragedy for all involved. It was a tragedy for our community. But what followed was not a cover-up or an investigation with a predetermined outcome. It was the search for truth. And it continues to be the search for truth and new ways to prevent similar situations from occurring in the future. None of us are here today to say we were right and you were wrong. A life was lost, and every effort to answer questions and to find truth must be taken, and I believe Sim and his team have done that. The portrayal of Officer Taylor in such a bad light last Friday, without a thorough review of evidence, unnecessarily frayed our community. Moving forward, we must work together in good faith. We cannot circle the wagons against each other in an effort to improve our justice system. And yes, we can improve our justice system. When situations involve so many shattered lives, like this one, the mentality is heartless and serves only a few special interests. I join my colleagues in encouraging the public to stay involved, engage in open dialogue with my office, the district attorney, and the police department. In the coming months, my office will work with Chief Brown, his officers, and others to ensure we are providing a transparent and open process for dialogue and information sharing. Justice cannot grow in a vacuum, and it will wither in an echo chamber. We can do better, and we will. I am confident of that. Thank you for being here.
At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes.
You said when he was, you said he was taking, taken back on administrative leave for the duration. Can't hear the question.
The question is, Officer Taylor was put back on administrative leave. Yes, he was put back on administrative leave Friday night after conversations with Sim Gill. We felt it necessary to protect the city, the police department, and Officer Taylor, and give everybody a little bit of space to review this tape and the circumstances that followed.
Sam,
Yes.
why wasn't that video that you were showing today ground level? Why did you not release that to the public? Wouldn't that not have spelled all of this?
That's a fair question, but keep in mind, our review was of the incident and the use of force, and this videotape, although part of our evidentiary stream, was not really relevant to the decision-making that we did, which was the original videotape of the officer, his body cam, the initial contact that occurred on the porch, the confrontation from the porch that transferred to the front lawn, the multiple witnesses who viewed that, and the ultimate moment where the use of force occurred. So for us, this piece of evidence that was there, it was part of our evidence stream, but it did not shed any subsequent light to the analysis and the purpose of our review. But it was gathered in the proper course of it. As this issue was brought up, this evidence now becomes extremely relevant. When we sometimes talk about our conclusions, we try to share with you all the material evidence that we have that we've relied upon to reach a conclusion, not every bit of evidence that's in our possession. And
you showed the public, half of the story. I mean, you showed Barker with the shovel, and then fade to black, and then you don't continue the rest of the story where they're out in the street where it happened.
Again, if you look at the video is after the incidents happened. So, as I said, that was the decision that we had reached at the time. And based on what we shared with the public what we relied upon. Yes, sir.
This is for Chief Landry, some former prosecutors that say not giving that video to the DA's office is really not your call. Realistically, you can make a judgment call, but they would say, realistically, what you should do is hand over all the evidence and let Sam Gill decide what's relevant or not. And you said you rectified it. I'm wondering, Mayor Stevens, do you have is there any kind of thing that you're going to be doing to make sure this doesn't happen again?
To your first part of the question, yes, we reviewed that tape, and that when we saw that, it was documented in a police report. That report went for follow-up, and the follow-up detectives did reach out to that individual in an attempt to collect that evidence, and that connection was never made. And so when we met last Friday and over the weekend, that was discussed very in detail. And this is just, it's good now. Sometimes we make mistakes, but it's better that we don't make those mistakes again.
And let me just add to that. The chief and I had a very, very frank discussion, and this is a discussion these are sort of practice pointers that we need to just continue to work on. It's a discussion that we will have at Leeds, which is with all the chiefs that are in the Valley, to reiterate to them that the relevance and the determination of relevance of evidence really is a prosecutorial discretion. And I'm going to advise them, all the Valley chiefs, that as we go forward, as well as our new OIS protocol is implemented, that those are decisions that are made by the district attorney's office, and that gets incorporated into the practice.
Can you tell us how many eyewitnesses you interviewed? We see Mr. Rowe that was told to leave the scene. He later says on his own report, he went to the police department and filed a witness report. He was never asked by the PD, yet he was there, and he also gave some disturbing facts about what he saw, which is that there was a pause in the scuffle, and then the officer shot the victim 3 times with the brain. And so I want to know, Mr. Gill, how many witnesses did you interview, and how does that score stack up?
Sure. There were multiple witnesses. I think that 4 come immediately to my mind that I think had substantive, relevant information. There were a lot of other people that were spoken to. My senior attorneys and I spoke with Mr. Grove yesterday, He came into our office. We sat down. Because my concern was that he had reported in the press that he was not happy with certain information that had been communicated. So I wanted to specifically ask him what information that he had in mind that was that he didn't think was factually accurate. What he was referring to was really the review that we had done and that he had read and how we had summarized the evidence. So we took him through that. Then I took him through his statements that he made to both my investigator and one of my senior attorneys. And then I sat down with him and read to him his his statement that was given to the police agency, and verbatim read that to him and asked him if that was irreconcilable based on what we had discussed. He said, no, that accurately reflected what he had communicated. That summary was actually the result of a full-blown interview that Mr. Groh had done that was videotaped at the law enforcement, at the police department. So the thing was that our emphasis to Mr. Groh was, share with us what you see and what you witness, not what you interpret or are concluding or interpreting as to other people. So the goal, as we worked it with him and as I worked it with multiple witnesses, when we have multiple witnesses, not all 4 or 5 or any number of witnesses are going to identically define a fact scenario. So my job as a district attorney is to gather that information, juxtapose it, to see which features can be agreed upon and which inconsistencies do not take away from the core material that I need to rely upon. And when we look at all the different evidence, you can break it into stages. There's the first stage where there's the first contact, which is the citizen who sees Mr. Barker and takes and calls law enforcement because he's got a concern in the community. He continues to witness this as Mr. Taylor responds. He comes back. Mr. Taylor tells him to remain as he goes down and makes contact. The first contact occurs. That is captured on the video camera of the body cam. From there, there is an allegation of an assault that takes place, and the bodies come off there, and we have a witness who talks about the shovel being used against Mr. Taylor. We have a witness that says that bodies are coming off the porch, and the one comes first, and the second one comes second there, and they're engaged in a struggle. We have witnesses that are talking about a dynamic physical fight that is going on. The officer also testifies that the contact occurs. He says that as they're moving, he's pushing Mr. Barker off. Mr. Groh says that he thinks the officer is on top. Their perceptions are different, but we know one thing for certain that I learned from Mr. Groh was, from all witnesses, was Mr. Barker ever handcuffed? And 2, did the shooting occur after the handcuff had occurred? And nobody who gave us any information contradicts that. In fact, Mr. Groh specifically stated to us yesterday, no, the shooting occurred before the handcuffing happened. So we went through all those conversations. They're not all exact, and we try to do the best that we can in terms of sifting through it.
It is true from the evidence that you have that Mr. Groh's description of pause in the fight and gunshots from point blank range, is that accurate?
He says 3 to 5 feet. That's what he says. So is that point blank range? 3 to 5 feet?
He told us.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 feet is what he said, and that's what we were going from. And as I said to him, I go, I understand. He goes, well, you know, I think he was on top. The officer says he was on the bottom. I go, those are the perceptions that we go through. I don't know what this is. Excuse me, I don't know what that is. Do you know what it is? I don't know if this is static, but
I don't think it's static. Maybe it is.
I don't know. Maybe this is a new drill. There we go. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So what he told you, was that consistent with what other witnesses told you, more or less, regarding the shooting?
I can say absolutely that what he told me was very important. And when I put it in next to the other witnesses, it gives me a narrative that I can rely upon to reach my conclusions, and I feel very comfortable with that.
So is your conclusion indicate the position of the men at the time of the shooting and was Officer Taylor around?
Again, what I do know is that Mr. Barker was facing Officer Taylor. I know that there's 2 shots that occurred on the front. Whether it was whether Mr. Taylor had changed position, whether he was on the bottom shooting up, or whether his body had shifted through the struggle and he was facing down shooting. I know that they were facing each other. So, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
What did your experts say about those 3 shots?
So we have not sent those in to anywhere because when I match it up against this video, I can clearly see that the gun is holstered, and when the pop 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 that we hear on their video that they've given to us, I don't know what that is, but I can definitively say it's not the fire from a service revolver. It's not the firearm.
Don't go away, please.
I'm not. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. How you doing today? Okay, my name is Oscar Ross Jr. Followed the police department for 7 years yesterday. Now, my question to you is that the officer was supposed to be on the line in some way.
I'm supposed to be what, sir?
He was hurt. He was harmed.
Yes.
There's a circulation that he was hurt. That doesn't show in the video. Can you explain that for me, please?
Sure. My understanding is that the officer had a fractured arm, injured his foot, and you see him, and I understand what you're saying because you see him moving around, okay? And but once the adrenaline from his body sort of goes, he starts to feel the pain. You see him; it's captured on the video. You see him shaking his arm. You see him grabbing his arm, and he started as his body starts to calm down. He's communicating that pain, and when we looked at the body, when we took the photograph, we saw that his uniform had been ripped, like it had been hit with something of a metal. It had ripped his clothing off, and it was consistent with what he said to us, and we had no reason to believe that he was fabricating them. Pat, did you have a question?
Said a connection wasn't made on the video, receiving the video. Does that mean they never got back to you? Is that video the first time on Friday? Or explain that part?
We saw the video that day, one of our patrol officers, who then called over one of the detectives on scene. They reviewed it and elected at that time not to take the video or the phone that it was on at that time. They documented it in a police report, so it went back to the follow-up detective for review. The follow-up detective then went to the house, tried to contact this individual, and left a business card. Subsequently, after that contact, there was no follow-up contact to get that tape.
They never called you back.
Yeah, no. Yes.
Has there been a policy change from the police department then now? You mentioned the importance to take all the evidence that is seen like this into account. I mean, I guess, how can we do Salt Lake City be sure that this doesn't happen before in an important situation where our evidence made it carrying things like this? That's concern.
Yeah, no, I mean, Baron, we just saw this tape Friday evening, and so it's only been a few days, but we're going to review our policies on collecting evidence and the procedure, and we will make sure that it is very clearly written out that all evidence, whether big, small, maybe irrelevant, will be collected and reviewed, or at least documented so it can be collected again.
Change your policy, I mean, regarding your de-escalation procedure. The question is, since the shootings at Taylor and Parker, we were talking about earlier.
Well, no, you know, the Salt Lake City Police Department continually, we are always looking for de-escalation training. As part of our CIT training, there is a de-escalation component to that training. Now, all our new recruits go through CIT training, which is a 40-hour block specifically designed to interact and deal with mental problems on the street. No, that hasn't changed. We've been doing that for years. Back when I hired on, we used to do what was called verbal judo, which was a de-escalation procedure. So we have continually trained this throughout the years, but based off of the culture and the things that have happened recently, we thought we would reinvest and put some more time and effort into those type of things for police officers.
That people saw when the first video was that they thought that Officer Taylor was aggressive
Oh, absolutely. There's always room for improvement. And in fact, based off of Mayor Biskupski's, our discussions, we always want to improve this police department. And that's why we will continue to look for better practices, better policies, any way that we can just de-escalate these situations. Because, I mean, the best situation would have been that there would have been no shooting that day. Unfortunately, sometimes there are times when these occur. But we will always try to improve how we interact and interface with our community.
Chief, why does Salt Lake City investigate its own? Why does Salt Lake City investigate a shooting that involved one of its own officers?
That's a excellent question, and thank you for saying that, because that's a question that I asked 5 years ago, and because I think it invites a perception of collusion, which is not always valid, but it feeds a perception that is unnecessary. I'm happy to report to you that based on both the change in the law and also by bringing all the Valley chiefs together, Salt Lake City, UPD, Sheriff Winder, Mike Brown, and all those other folks, there is a new policy and protocol in place that went into effect that clearly states that going forward, that if there is a venue agency that's involved in an officer-involved shooting, that agency will not be investigating itself, that rather it will be the task force comprising of multiple officers from multiple agencies who are focused and trained well to address the issue of officer-involved shootings will be the first responders to that and respond and carry that forward. I think that will contribute to better transparency. That's something that I've been advocating for 5 years. I have the support of some of the chiefs, not necessarily all, but we're all there now. Chief Brown, I know, Chief Burbank, Sheriff Winder were some of the early supporters of this, and I'm really happy to say that has finally come to fruition, and that will not be happening going forward. That was before the change in policy and protocol. So, no, I said I raised the issue 5 years ago, and it's finally in December 31st of this year, we posted as a requirement by state statute. Wisconsin was the first state in the country about 3 years ago that made a statutory requirement that you could not self-investigate. And we knew that we needed to address that issue, and we've been trying to address that on our own. And there was a year ago a change in state statute that followed the Wisconsin law, and as a result, I think it is actually going to be beneficial to all of us in a community where we don't need to invite that suspicion. It's not necessary, but it fuels that perception, and we want to alleviate that.
You have a brief narrative, as nearly as you can tell, what happened in the confrontation between Officer Taylor and
I'm happy to give it to you, or what I was going to tell before we close. There are 2 pieces of documents there, which is our original analysis, our secondary conclusion, and then also a video that captures the 2 videos that we showed to you, and they'll be sitting right there. And so if you want to just read that, that'll be there. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I saw that video on Friday afternoon at 4:40 p.m.
The original video or the second one?
Friday at 4:40 at a private law firm's office.
Go back to that evidence gathering at the scene where one of your officers saw that video from the Friday video, for lack of a good word.
Yeah.
Now, why did they not think that was relevant to that person? Was that person aware of the other video? How did you get the time frame? Why did they brush off that video?
You know, I can't answer that right now. Those are the questions that we will be answering as we review this and why it happened. I mean, I can only surmise that they felt like, as Tim explained, it was after the fact of the shooting, but that shouldn't matter.
Any other question? If not, thank you for taking the time to come down here. Thank you. And the materials are right here. If you'd like to give one copy.
Get that.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
You would ask. More out.